Welcome, Impactful Parents. It's time for the Impactful Parenting Podcast, where I give you parenting tips and resources to make you a more impactful parent to your school-age child. I am your host, Kristina Campos. Welcome, Impactful Parents. Do you have a child that is or wants to be a high-performing athlete? We all know it's tough, but how can parents support their child without going too far and sacrificing academics and keeping things real? That's what we're talking about today on the Impactful Parent Podcast. Hello, my name is Kristina Campos. I'm founder of the Impactful Parent, and I help parents of school-age children who want to be one step ahead of their kids to turn their chaos into connection with their adolescent. I'm a mom of four, a teacher that's taught every grade from preschool through high school. And today I help moms and dads like yourself to navigate that exhausting, confusing, frustrating, but rewarding world of parenting. So welcome to the Impactful Parent. And today I have a special guest. Her name is Gosha Bettincourt. Gosha is a senior healthcare leader and a mom of two highly driven boys, including a 7th grade elite diver competing at the national level. And drawing on her own experience of navigating alternative education through the Crimson Global Academy, Gosha is a passionate person about helping parents find flexible, high-quality academic pathways that support rather than limit their child's ambitions. Now, I'm excited to have her on the Impactful Parent stage today to talk about what's it like having a really high-performing athlete and how can we as parents really support this kind of child and some of the things that we want to avoid. So I'm excited to dive right into this episode. Let's go ahead and get started.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very glad that I could actually share my voice and advocate for other both athletes and parents and share our experience, because after all, it is a journey.
And the first thing I want to start with is that every elite athlete has a spark moment. When did you first realize that your child wasn't just good, but had the potential to actually compete at a national level?
I guess I'll give a short story regarding his kind of exposure to sports in general. So we started very early, since, 6 months, mommy and me, we started the gymnastics kind of portion. And by 2 and 3, he already had private lessons in gymnastics at first. We did also by 5, he joined a team, but we also had exposure for him, in soccer and flag football and all the other sports. And as he was getting more advanced, he started eliminating the other sports and he started winning and showing his passion towards that one, which was at that point was gymnastics. And later on, kind of like history was made.
And what was the biggest shifts that you've had to make as a parent when you moved from being a fan in the stands to managing the life of having a high performance athlete?
It is very demanding lifestyle and schedule. And in this case, at first, when he was doing gymnastics, he was doing 6 days a week, twice a day, 5 hours of training, morning and evening. So it was actually a lot. So we basically lived at the gym. When he transitioned to diving is a little bit different kind of, you don't have to train twice a day at first. It's a different lifestyle. So definitely it created more flexibility for Josh. However, the more you train, the more injuries occurred. Therefore, we took a lot of our times to prevent injuries, handle the, OT, PT, sports medicine doctors, sports psychology doctors. So that took a lot of our times too. So it's actually so much into it once you're becoming this kind of elite high level diver in this case, that it does takes a lot of planning and figuring out as a whole, as a family, because that affects my other younger son who is not a high level athlete, and then his schedule. How am I going to split and spread my time? Yourself, you have 4 children yourself, how are you going to navigate through that? So
yeah, it's hard just navigating regular sports and club, sports. But when you get to this level, it is definitely something to, that's the whole point of this episode, because it is so different. I want parents to see that. So how did you decide that a traditional school model wasn't the right fit for your son? And what was that transition like as a parent?
I'll be honest, we were holding off for quite some time. We did not consider moving on to an online school for a while. One, because maybe we just were afraid, what's going to happen with his social life, or maybe how are we going to handle just everything else. So we were pushing and we were afraid, but it did pushed us almost to the wall at that point when he started having so many morning appointments with different doctors, for his health kind of related injuries and prevention, all of those kind of appointments. And then in the afternoon, he had to leave early. So he was missing for training. So he was missing so much school in the end. And he had so much pressure on his shoulders that he needed to, do well in school, having straight A's and complete all his assignments in time. Even though the schools, I have to give him credit, they were very flexible and understanding that he needed to travel for 2 weeks. We just came back from Norway that he was competing. So even though the school generally was very accommodating, but in the end, it was a high pressure on the athlete itself. And we decided we needed to start searching and finding a school that will allow us to have that flexibility and not sacrificing the academic learning as if.
Yeah, you do. You have to. There's no way a traditional model would be able to support that. So what does a typical week look like for a student athlete balancing a national level diving training with a full academic schedule?
Okay, so we did transition to Crimson Global Academy. Actually, mid-year, we had to. We thought we could wait until September, but by January, my son requested that he needed to do that. So he was very grateful because the schedule is very flexible. It feels like college. It does. So you pick courses kind of as you go, whatever you need based on the curriculum and what's expected. His training is 6 days a week, the diving. On Mondays, he will have 2 practices, one which means, but it's one after the other. One he will have at the flip school. It's called the gym per se, like indoor. And then right after that, they will go and go to the pool, and that's where they will be training. All the other days, he will have just one practice at the pool once a week. We're from Denver, so he would be driving to Air Force, and he would be training at the Air Force as well. On top of it, on Saturdays, they'll have the indoor gym training, and we're also outsourcing another personal trainer so they could build their additional muscles needed for his diving as well.
I mean, we often hear about sacrifice and we expect that from elite athletes, but let's talk a little bit about specifics. I'm asking you, how do you handle a Tuesday night when there's a 3-hour practice and let's say an honors level chemistry exam that next morning? Like, how do you do that?
It's exhausting for him as well because his body's tired, from training physically. So I did notice that it does affect him a lot. But and I feel like now he's truly learned over the years, because obviously he's been dealing with this for a while. He truly matured a lot faster than I would say another teenager his age, that he learned how to do time management, how to control that. Yes, since I have an exam or some kind of assignment to be done on time, he does have to do that, either wake up early, stay late. Even sometimes it did happen. We were home from Air Force by 10 p.m. and he would have to finish his assignments or study. So he would only adjust, do I need to complete this tonight? Do I still have energy, or am I too exhausted and I'm going to have to wake up at 5 o'clock or 5:30 in the morning, study before school? I'm very proud of him. And we never force him anyhow. It absolutely comes from his passion, from his love and dedication. So we're even sometimes, my husband and I, we look at each other and I'm like, wow, that's quite impressive. So as long as we also give him the choice, we never force him to continue anything he doesn't want to do. And I'll be honest, we also have to watch our finances. And if, there's never perfect, you're never in seventh heaven in any training. Sometimes there are low days too and gray days, and we have them all in our workplaces as well, or in our normal lifestyles. And if he does ever expresses that he will have some kind of difficulties, I would ask him, hey, do you want to quit? Do you want to let go? Please don't, respect our hardworking earn money so we don't have to pay for something you're not all sure. And every time he would say like, Mom, I'm good. I just need to rest and we're good.
And how does the Crimson Global Academy's online model help you manage those demands of these rigorous academics and then this rigorous scheduling? Do they have supports in line and something that parents could pull from?
Absolutely. So we are in love, and we love Crimson Global Academy CGA. My younger son, even though he's not athlete, he's been watching my son Joshua, and he said, I want to move as well. And he wants to be academically challenged, and he likes to have the flexibility. What I love about CGA is the fact that the classes are quite small. There are about 5 children at the time of class. They're dividing into smaller chat groups. I love the fact that they're international. I'm originally from Poland. And for example, I'll give you an example. Josh had a math class one of the evenings at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. that actually worked out with his schedule. Actually, that was Tuesdays and Fridays. That's when he was able to put it into his schedule. And he said, Mom, I just walked in, to my classroom, which is on his computer. And then they were sharing, with other students from Australia, like, oh, I just woke up. Oh, I'm going to work at, in Singapore and Malaysia right after this class. It's amazing, like how amazing community is. And if there are any needs, academic needs that Josh has questions, he can either review the recording that has been recorded. There are also AI summaries of each course. And then he can directly reach out to the teachers, and they can schedule a time scheduled with the teacher. It's one-on-one, and they have full support as well. So it's been amazing time that we've been with CGA, that he has never complained like, I don't have access to teacher support or any kind of whatever he needs, it's there.
Now, elite sports can be very isolating. So how do you ensure that your child still gets to be a kid and maintain friendships outside of their sports bubble?
Exactly. So at first, that was even my concern before we entered CGA, and he was actually negotiating himself. Like, Mom, I still have friends from my elementary school. I still have my friends from my middle school. It's like, and they go and play golf, or they go skiing, or they still schedule times. Most of his friends, they understand his timelines and schedules. So sometimes he would have to respond, hey, we need to reschedule in a different date or time. And everyone is so respectful of that. So he still have those movie nights just recently that just scheduled. And now, besides, he loves to play Fortnite. He says, like, don't tell anyone, because he feels like, oh, this is not, but he enjoys it. He plays and he does the tournaments. So he does have a social life. He still enjoys things that normal kids would enjoy. And he loves chess. He actually does love chess too. It's like he does sometimes chess tournaments, or even does the chess online. And he's like, Mom, I even got a brilliant move that he was so proud of it. And I love that he's so well-rounded, that he can do chess and other activities, and he feels good about it. And he scored great scores on golf, whenever we try to, usually Sundays, that's a day for family. So yeah, he still does amazing stuff outside of diving. It's not just that.
When an athlete's self-worth really becomes tied to their stats and how well they do, that pressure can just be so immense. So I'd like to know, how do you help your child decouple their identity from their performance on the field? So yeah, they're separate.
And that's a great question. And again, it is a process, and it's a learning process, that there will be moments that you will fail, and there will be moments that you will be very successful and on top. And I'll provide a couple of examples. When he was younger, 3, 4 years ago, he just started diving. And typically, even in gymnastics, he was usually top three, top, like on the podium, so called, even though there were a line of children still receiving further awards and recognitions. He performed and he failed a dive. He got 0 or 1, like absolutely nothing. It was a flank. So as a parent, and he was a starting diver, and I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm curious, how is he going to react? How is he going to mentally take this? And I was quite surprised. He went in a corner, he started crying literally to himself and kind of trying to process. And then when he came back, and it wasn't about that he was upset at himself that he failed the dive, but then at the same time, he said, Mom, I'm going to put myself in another athlete's shoes. There might be some children who are always in 7th, 6th, 8th, 10th place. I'm going to stand there. I'm actually even going to smile. I just needed to let my tears out, and now I'm happy. Today, I was very proud of him. This was quite impressive kind of transformation. Today, when he's much older, 13 years old, he will, especially with his injuries, he just recently had both arms casted. He would still try to see what he can do. So he was diving feet first, or he maybe at times when he couldn't train, he would actually coach the little rippers. He was trying to kind of help others to succeed. And lastly, he came up to me. He's like, Mom, I think I need help. I think I need some kind of support. And I asked him, what is it? Well, I'm in this cast. I can't progress. I'm not improving. I'm not having high scores, like in a sense that he's not able to get 3.5 flips where he just can do a simple one because he's injured. And then I said, you know what? Do you think should we look for a sports psychologist? And actually, that's what we did. This was the first time. We've never had one. He's only 13. I never thought at this age I would have to hire someone who can help him. We were able to identify actually a past Olympian psychologist from Georgia, where she actually understands also diving, the aerial, because again, you can have a sports psychologist provider where, there are different kind of scares. On top of the skills, there's a height, you might hit the board or platform or anything like this. So he will speak and he will share when there's a time for support or anything. And we will try to provide him because it's a journey, as I keep saying.
I love that there's resources out there that parents may not realize, so that they don't have to be the only supportive thing. It's a lot for a parent, especially if you're juggling multiple siblings, to be there. And so that's a great idea to have that kind of resource. Good to know. And for parents in our audience aspiring to this national level of performance for their child, I'd like to know, what's a hidden cost, either financial, time, or emotional, of an elite sport that no one really tells you about in the beginning?
Yes, it's very costly. And I do have to say, someone actually asked me a question. So how much does it cost to train? And then I said, you're referring just to training or medical bills or all the support and everything else, traveling? It's a lot. However, since we notice he does have the passion and love, and including Crimson Global Academy, it's costly as well, but I guess that's what we need to do to support him to be able to have this kind of flexibility that he needs. My husband and I, we chose that we will invest in him. So we believe that this is a true investment. You know what? At some point in 2 years, he might quit diving. We don't know. He might. I mean, we're prepared for it. But for us, this is a long kind of life skill learning and kind of whatever he's gaining through this training, being coachable, being humble, being a teammate, always collaborating, supporting each other. It's a life skill he's going to learn and take it with him forever in his future works, in his future job, or even in college. Today, actually, I love it. He did fail. I'll say it. It was very enticing having scarce lessons with CGA, like one lesson here, 3 hours break, and then another one there. It's very easy for a child to lose the time and kind of get onto your phone and miss an assignment. And this was a great learning experience. And I'm glad that he's experiencing this now, not in college or not at work, that he's like, oh, I'm behind. So now he's truly learning his management of his time. So going back, yes, it's a big sacrifice, but we're choosing and willing to do so. And it's a teamwork. So at least it makes us feel good that our money isn't wasted, because he does have straight A's. He is aiming to go to and attend Stanford University. And in diving, he does understand that he needs to have academics there as well before getting into the program for diving. So that's our investment in him.
And it could change at any point. I mean, he could burn out, and burnout is that silent killer of athletic dreams. So I'm wondering, what are the yellow flags that you look for that tell you that your child needs a break?
Yes.
And so even if they don't say it out loud, you can see, what are some of the things that you're looking for?
It's very clear, and we can see it. And that's what I love about our coaches too, because they can see it at the gym and we can see it at home. And as we said, we don't want the burnout, because you will see so many children. And in this era, children start so early, and so did our children started very early too. So it's easy that by certain age or grade or level, children will burn out, and they'll just they're done. So what we're trying to prevent, that's why I'm saying collaboration with the coaches as well, to prevent the burnout, because our ultimate goal is to make them as far as we can and allow them to be successful in their passion that they actually could continue doing, whether that's in college or further or wherever they want to do. So the first kind of thing we see, they will be kind of closed in the room, or they would be in the couch or on the phone, or kind of not talkative. And then or in the car, we can see it, because obviously we're driving, so I can see it. And so I will try to personally initiate just a conversation so I could hear something and say, no, I'm fine. And we know that's not like, it's not fine. So that's why, and this was the perfect example when we were able to notice, to not feel like, hey, if there's something going on, I can't help you anymore. I'm going to find you a sports psychologist. She's going to help you. And now let me tell you, a couple months in, he's loving it. We're actually from 1 hour, we narrowed down to 30 minutes with her, just check-ins, and they're able to connect because she was a diver too. So it just makes so much difference, even though the coaches might be saying similar things what the psychologist is. But I feel like the approach from a different person who's not really right in your face every day, or understands from a different, brain perspective as well. I truly encourage any parent of an athlete, of high-level athlete, to invest and investigate in those kind of additional supports, because in the end, we're just human beings, and I'm just a simple parent trying to navigate through all this.
And you touched on the big financial reality of having such an elite athletes. And I kind of would like to know that if parents are aspiring to this, they tend to overspend a lot on, let's say, exposure camps. And I'd like to know what actually moved the needle for you. Like, which one of these things do parents really need to invest in that really make a difference versus just make noise? And one of them you mentioned, it's the psychologist. You're saying this is a good investment. This is actually moving the needle for us. Is there something else or some other area that you would like to mention to say, parents, no, this is where you want to go?
Just so you know, both in gymnastics when we were before and now in diving, most high-level athlete coaches typically would probably not allow attending other camps outside when you're that level. It has to do with not that they're trying to be mean or not allowing a child to have further development and growth. It has to do with consistency and the type of training those athletes receive. However, if you are a rec athlete I would absolutely encourage, explore and attend different camps around too. And that is fun. So if you feel like this will be helpful for your child's development, because they might meet some other athletes in that kind of level, I absolutely encourage. However, once you're already in a very structured kind of training in whatever sports, I would highly recommend communicate with your coach, whether that is permittable, so it doesn't reverses whatever they've trained so far and improved a certain skill, because they might think it might help. And I'll give you an example. And even personally, I asked our coach, I asked her, like, can you please help me to understand why is it that you're not truly allowing, the children? Because, well, I was one of the parents, like, oh, let's send him everywhere. Let's, have more exposure, because I thought that would help them. And she said, for example, and this is actually easy to understand about diving, because you can do like one flip or two, 2.5, or 3, right? So if you're going to certain camps, and in that camp quickly in a week or two, they're going to teach you some difficult skill, and a child might be able to somewhat do, let's say, 2 or 2.5. I'm just making this up. But they don't have a foundation of a simple dive, a strong foundation. So what happens in the long term, yes, they're able to do 2.5, but if they have to do 3 or 3.5 or something even more difficult, if they don't have the foundation of the single one, they'll have a block, they can get hurt, and it won't make them to go far. I'll add one last point, if I may, regarding the exposure. If you are in a high school kind of range already, that you want to have some kind of exposure to certain coaches, maybe around the country, or certain kind of, you just want to be somewhat noticed, I would potentially, if your coach allows you to visit the campus and have that kind of visit, I do highly recommend, because coaches do scout you when they see you during the training, when they see the child's skill, and they're like, oh, I like this child. Oh, she or he does stands out in whatever way. So I feel like there potentially could be a great investment too, to be more noticeable. I hear from coaches, because across the US, because when we have nationals, so we have access to speak or talk or chat with anyone. And I do hear, through those links, you can send your emails, and there is this website, you can provide the profile of the child. And they often say, it's thousands of them. We don't have time to look through them. But if they have a chance to see them in person, and they even actually, besides the skill, if they already saw it, like, oh, that person does well, and then they have a chance to actually chat and hear how the athlete responds and is able to communicate, and see if they're even a right fit as a coach to be in college later on, it does have a lot of benefits. And I'll give an example. My son, a few months ago, 6 months ago or so, he was competing at some kind of national meet in Texas. And again, he wants to go to Stanford. Guess what he did? He told me afterwards, I wasn't even aware of. He walked up to the NCAA coach of Stanford. He says, I just came to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Gosha Bettincourt. And he started saying that I'm from Mile High Dive Club. And he literally initiated a conversation with the coach of Stanford. And I'm like, what did you guys say? And how did that conversation go? And he said, yeah, I spoke probably for 10 minutes. And he said, I have great academics. I'm working very hard. And I really want to be sick. He literally presented at 13. I was like, wow.
I want to, before our episode ends, talk a little bit more about Crimson Global Academy, which I know is the one who put us together for this interview. So if we do have athletes out there who are interested in taking this extra step of doing this kind of academics so that they can go deeper into their sport, where do we find out about Crimson Global Academy? Do they have contact information that we can provide?
Absolutely. There is obviously the website, Crimson Global Academy. However, what I would highly recommend, please feel free to reach out to me, even anonymously, before even you want to reach out directly to the school. Because let me tell you, I did my research too. Before I decided on CGA, I've actually interviewed other parents, especially from the high level athletes who have attended other high schools online and also top notch. Feel free to reach out to me personally, and feel free to share my email, my phone number with anyone who would be interested as well. So yes, go to the website, Crimson Global Academy, and you can contact us, and they can reach out to you directly. Feel free to call me, and I'll be more than happy to share our experience, ins and outs. And I'll share also the experience, what I found out, why I chose them directly comparing with the other ones. So info@beaverlakeescape.com.
Well, I would like to end with one last impactful parent question. And I ask this to all my guests who come in. We're on the Impactful Parenting podcast. So how do we become a more impactful parent? And with this topic, we're talking about parents who have an athlete. They are torn maybe between supporting their child's academics and their athletic passion. So what would you say is the first thing or something that you would like to tell these parents who are in between trying to decide what to do? They're hearing this episode and, give them some guidance. How can they best be an impactful parent for their athlete?
I would highly recommend step back and try to hear and listen to your child. Even though we feel like, well, it's just our child. In our mindset, we always think that parents, we should lead and we should tell them what to do. So I notice the more I step back, the more I try to engage my son in his communications, in expressing, in understanding his needs, and whatever that would be in whatever kind of areas, whether that was choosing the school. And a lot of people like, my kids go to the school that I'm telling them to go to, period. It doesn't work this way. Or sports, I'm just saying because the dad loves football or whatever that means. I honestly have over the years, I've learned the more I step back, try to listen and hear my child's needs, I feel like it was the most successful and impactful for all of our household, because the child will be more happy, more engaged. And I'll just give an example. We always take travels. When we travel for competitions, we came back from Norway, we went to the Netherlands last year. We would travel a lot, but I would make my children to choose, okay, while we're there, what do you guys want to see? So not only engages them that they need to pick, they're not going to complain, they're going to be excited to be there, and they're going to be excited to go somewhere. So again, this is hearing and following their kind of interest and needs. And I promise you, it will make your life so much easier.
Thank you for listening today. Remember to subscribe and share this podcast with a friend. And don't forget, the Impactful Parenting Podcast is an extension of the Impactful Parent community. Go to the Impactful Parent website and download the free Impactful Parent app so you don't miss a parenting tip that can help you and your family. Thanks for listening today. So go to theimpactfulparent.com and see you next episode.